All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the
Hello.
Concept 101 podcast. Today we are with Stefan and Tim from the Art Nest. Nice. How are you guys
Hello.
doing?
Doing great, and you?
Pretty good, pretty good. It's been a beautiful weather here in London, man. It's been
Yeah,
good.
really sunny today. I don't know how
Yeah,
it
dude.
is where you are, Tim, but for us it's like
I mean, the south
nice
of
and
France, it's
sunny.
very sunny, yeah?
Yeah,
Oh,
nice, good. I mean, I guess it's often sunny, right, in south of France?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm jealous because for me here it's just rain and sometimes sun. Yeah. Um, but yeah, man, it's nice to have you on the podcast, and it's nice to also for us to record a new podcast. It's been, I think a few months.
Yeah,
Um, just to say, thanks a lot to you guys for listening to our previous video because we're really happy how it did. We've got like a lot of very nice feedback from it, so it's cool to follow up with a nice, podcast with Tim. And I guess as a start, it'd be good to hear more about you, Tim. So maybe if you can present
sure,
yourself and who you are.
sure. The short version is that I'm that crazy, angry French dude on LinkedIn sharing memes. The longest version is that before that, the origin story. No, I've been studying in an art school in France. I will not mention the name because I dropped out basically, or they kicked me out. We'll never really know. 6 months later, I was hired on my first job at Ubisoft. So it was at the end of 2016, early 2017, as a concept artist, specialized in environment mostly. And then I worked on several other studios. I worked a bit for Netflix as a freelancer, Cantic Dream in a house, then moved mostly to freelance for stuff like Share Creator, Mentees, freelancing for a lot of random concept art projects, some buried under NDA forever. A lot of D&D books also as an illustrator. Then back to a lot of games with like free range games, hidden games, and more. Growing as a senior, as a lead, as an art director towards the end. Teaching in a lot of schools also in parallel, including small one, big ones. And eventually I created the Art Nest in 2023. And now I'm full-time running the Art Nest. And here we are.
Nice.
nice.
Yeah, that's quite
So,
extensive, man. Yes,
Yeah.
sorry, go for it, Stefan.
because you kind of like just went through it super quickly, and here I wanted to ask you a bit more, um, kind of, if we go even more back, like
Uh-huh.
where do you think your interest started for concept art? Like where did you get inspired to
Yeah.
do concept art, and what was kind of like the beginning? What were the education around that time as well? Where did you get your knowledge from? Because I believe we might be coming from around the same era, so
Yeah.
I would be interested
Yeah.
to hear about that as well.
Yeah. So just like a lot of artists from that era, I was the kind of weird kid having trouble expressing himself and just using creativity to express himself. So writing stories, painting a lot of little figurines. Initially,
Nice.
I was supposed to become a professional painter for Games Workshop.
Oh wow, no way.
Yeah, I was supposed to do
Nice.
that. Then I discovered the amazing illustration, like the John Blanche and the old school stuff from
Yeah, yeah.
late 90s, early 20s when I was in the Warhammer store 24/7, basically.
Mhm.
And I was like, this is cool. And one day I met a guy in that Warhammer store. He was one of the staff, and he moved to Brussels to actually do illustration for
Mhm.
Games Workshop, amongst many other. And I was like, you can make illustration. That's cool.
Crazy.
And I was young. I was like 10 or 12 years old, something like that. Then I moved, my interest shifted. And initially I wanted to become a sound engineer. I like music. I like painting. I like writing. I've been the creative kid with no specific interest initially. I just wanted to create stuff and be in my little bubble. And basically, at the end of high school in France, you have to make your wish for the schools. And sound engineer schools, I didn't know you could be a self-taught at the time, and it wasn't fathomable for my parents. So I had to pick something, and I did not get taken in sound engineer school. And I did 1 year of transition to learn a bit more like science and things like that to get ready, because I come from a literary background, and I completely lost interest over the year for sound engineering. I did a bit of internship in studios, and I was like, I don't want that life. That sounds like not what I want. And it was a bit of an existential crisis at the time. And I was like, what do I want to do? What what have I been liking since I'm a kid that never changed? And I was like, fantasy stuff, animated movies, watching The Lord of the Rings and playing video games in my bedroom, And I was like, I should probably go there, So I just looked at art schools for video games. And then I discovered concept art at that point. I was like, that's eerily similar to the job that guy at the Warhammer store was doing, I did not know the difference between illustration and concept art at the time. I was like, I want to do that. So I applied to an art school, didn't get hired in the concept art class because I didn't know how to draw. So they were like, okay, do a year of 3D, learn to draw there because there's a lot of drawing, and then move back to the concept art class. That's what I did. And then I arrived to the concept art class. And in that 3D year, I was kind of average at 3D, but I was drawing a lot, and that's where I discovered Feng Zhu.
And would you say
I'm
that
pretty
was
sure
like
everyone in that discussion right now learned with him, but he was like a second dad for me. I was watching all his video. Every time I'm thinking about his video, I'm thinking about a Subway sandwich. It was my ritual every week. Subway sandwich, always the same taste, watching Feng's new video. And I did that for years. And that's where I learned. And that's also, unfortunately, how Feng creating a little punk in the school, because I was like, what he is teaching seems way more coherent than what the school is teaching. And I started to be a bit challenging for teachers, to say the least. And I moved to the concept art class, kept on watching Feng Zhu and also other artists of the time. I think Anthony Jones, that's the moment he kind of blew up on Gumroad. He was one of the first concept artists really diving into technique and such with affordable Gumroad tutorial, because I had no money. I was saving on my lunch food to pay some tutorials on Gumroad and such. It's also where I discovered the Level Up guys, like Jonas, Wojtek, and Darek. I think it was those three. I was watching all their podcasts religiously on Sundays live. It was so cool. So I learned from those. And then when I was in art school, that's the moment where platforms like Learn Squad arrived with the OG tutorials from Mache, from Jama, from AG, etc. And that's how I made my education. And eventually I was like, I'm learning more on my own with those little tutorials, or certain big ones. Learn Squad was the first very big tutorials that we had at the time, than in art school. So gradually I started to be less and less interested in art school, and practicing on my own what I was learning from those guys. And eventually at some point it clashed with the school, and we stopped. Basically I stopped going there, and they did not allow me to the next year. Surprise.
Really?
And,
so they just told you like you can't progress because you don't agree with like our curriculum?
Yeah, they were basically like, you have no future in the industry, you should have a plan B. Basically, that was crazy. Roughly what they wanted to say. I don't want to dive too much into the negativity, but let's say some teachers were heavily trying to discourage me from pursuing that. And I get it. That school, at least, I don't want to make a generality, but they wanted me to, or the student, to be kind of good at everything, but not excellent in one thing. And I already realized, because I started drawing very late compared to other kids in my class that were way better than me at drawing, that, okay, I don't have the same set of cards than them. I'm not good at drawing. I don't have the time within the art school time frame to learn drawing as much as I want. I have to deal with what I have. And I was like, okay, I'm good at Photoshop, better than my classmates. And I'm good at 3D because I did 1 year of 3D where you are heavily into photos and things like that. And that's how intuitively I started to do working in 3D and photo bashing before it was widespread. It was already done in the industry, but there was not that many tutorials. I think the first tutorial I saw about that was very deep and exhaustive was the one from Maciej Kuchera on his old Gumroad. And it was in 2016 or 2015, but it was late. Wow.
Was that with Maya or was it with a Blender?
Yeah, with that ugly ass interface on Maya.
Yeah.
And I was like,
God.
That guy, he worked on crazy stuff and he's using that technique. And at the same time, we got a teacher that worked on what would become Horizon Zero Dawn. that was using those techniques too. And he was one of the only guy in school that understood my situation. He kind of took me under his wing, like a personal mentor. And when I got ejected from school, I reached out to him and I was like, dude, I know you are busy, but I need your help, please. I have 6 months to find a job, otherwise I'm coming back to mom and dad's home. I don't want to. What do I do? And he was like, okay, 6 months is short. You won't really have the time to understand the why and the how of what I will tell you. But just pick Ubisoft, pick their games like Assassin's Creed, document the hell out of they do it, and try as much as possible to replicate what you see, not just on a surface level, but also the type of game that they are doing, verticality, parkour for Assassin's Creed, even for stuff like The Division. The Division has been teased or even released. I think it was the first one was released at the time. And it was like, okay, study the gameplay and try to pretend you are working for those projects. And you make a little twist on your own, of course, to not do fan art, but do something somewhat compatible. And I was working with him for like 6 months. He was giving me a bit of feedback. And December, just before Christmas, I sent my application to Ubisoft. So the next day they answered.
Wow.
I was like, wow.
Yeah, that's great, man. Was it Ubisoft's which one?
Annecy.
Annecy, nice, yeah.
Annecy.
That's so cool because I think that's also like the year. I mean, not the year, but the era where Ubisoft was. I mean, Ubisoft has been blowing up.
It was their golden age
in scale for a very long time. But at that time, if I'm not mistaken, I think they did really well. Start of Assassin's Creed, then there was a bit of a drop, and then they like bounced back up with all the Assassin's Creed reboot with Division,
with Origins. That was about to be released in 2017. You look even at the store chart, like it boomed like crazy at that time.
Yeah, so
and
like what a time to join Ubisoft. I'm amazing.
Yeah, exactly. It was amazing, and I was so happy because it was one of my dream company at the time, and I at least I got an interview on the first try, And the day before Christmas, in that very house where I am right now, my family was baking the Christmas cake. I was in an interview with the HR, and the first question was like, "Hey, so do you get a degree?" And I was like, "Oh no." Oh shit, that's the end. And I was like, no, actually, I'm a self-taught person. I stopped asking, no, that's fine, we prefer. And I was like, what?
Okay.
So it kind of changed my perspective regarding at least that specific art school. And fast forward, I did the art test, and in March 2017, I was in Annecy starting to work, and I was very happy. And there was a bit of an imposter syndrome at the beginning. It's like, okay, first CV I sent, it works. Then I was like, okay, I got 2 interviews, 1 crazy art test. I didn't sleep for like 4 days, several months of trial period. They still wanted to keep me, and not only they wanted to renew the contract. So I was like, okay, I'm probably doing a few stuff good. And I was a bit of a dork at the time. My CV was horrible. Everything you should not do in a CV. It was looking like a D&D character sheet. You should not do that.
Did you have stats like Photoshop 9 out of 10?
Yeah, with the little bars and such. All those annoying
things. I own
that
50 brushes, 1 gold brush, 1 legendary one.
Exactly. So I was like, okay, it's certainly not my CV. My social skills are not the best, but it was okay. My dad was doing a bit of job interview for his IT company at the time, so it trained me a bit. I was like, okay, I did not too bad on the interview, and probably my portfolio kind of carried me, and the art test was okay. So most likely what that teacher told me to do was on point. And that's where it kind of started, because funny enough, after I got hired at Ubisoft, the school that kicked me out a few months ago crawled back to me. It was like, hey, can you teach what you did? And I was like, sure, I'm going to teach you what you kicked me out for, but that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we realized that people applying that methodology, not just my technique, but also the approach to building portfolio that teacher told me, and that I kind of freestyle my way through into re-explaining and adapting to my own vision. It worked. Across several years of teaching, it kind of worked for those who are applying it kind of diligently. And I was like, we are onto something. I'm not saying it's the absolute way, but we are definitely onto something that is measurable and almost reliable in some way. Of course, you need a certain technique and such, but it was okay. And that's where I was like, okay, there's something to dig right there. And it was coherent with what Feng was saying. Of course, I got heavily inspired by him, even with what we do today at the Art Nest. It's like a legacy of what Feng was saying. And that's how the first momentum started for the education.
Okay,
So,
so you
yeah.
that I mean that's some journey, tell it up. Like I mean for a lot of us, I remember when I finished uni, it took me what 8 months to find a job, I think.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of applications. And it was funny when I got my first job, I got it with the portfolio that I had like the job that I got was because of a painting that I did right after uni, even though it took me 8 months to get it. And I've improved my skills since then, but it was a specific thing that they liked in that painting that made them want me to go for
Remember,
it.
Steph,
And
I had applied to the same job and you had gotten it. I didn't know you yet. I was like,
that was
didn't
super,
get it.
yeah, it's super strange. But like just to the point of what Timothée was saying here, the reason why they took me for that job, and I can probably speak about it publicly now because the game certainly has had playtests since then. It's the Exaborn game, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I had a particular piece in my portfolio that was similar-ish to what they were doing. I don't know if I still have it there. I might have removed it because old painting, but I that's kind of like what they hired me because they're like, well, you already are kind of doing what we are looking for, so we don't have to really train you for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Juniors, yeah, with juniors that is quite important because, yeah, because they might not. If you're a senior, they don't care. They know you can handle multiple things, but if you're a junior, they want you to be good for the project that they're looking for.
Yeah.
And that's probably what happened to you too with Ubisoft,
Exactly.
realistically.
I have an anecdote about that because initially I was applying for the division. It would be the second division that was yet to be announced. I did the art test. It was okay. They kept me on hold because someone did slightly better and had a bit of experience. So I was a bit salty about that. Like, no, I'm not getting the job. And then there was a massive plot twist. The art director that was in Ubisoft Annecy moved to Sweden. So the design team in Annecy would not be with a physical art director. And they were like, there's no way we're hiring a junior on that.
Mm-hmm.
But in your portfolio, those crazy weird owl projects that you have that are evolving in snowy mountains, there's very good lighting. We like your way of representing snow. And we have a game with a lot of snow called Steep. So we're going to get you on Steep. And I was like, sure. Anything. I'll take anything. Okay. And yeah, I worked a lot on the mood and lighting on the game. Because it's a game about mountains, but it's a lot about lighting and weather and clouds and things like that. So I did a lot of nature. And it kind of carried to Riders Republic also. I was the lighting and the nature guy, basically, at Ubisoft for a long time. And it's funny because I got to do a lot of that, and I would have never expected that little personal project to get me hired initially.
Yeah. That's often the case, right? Like, and I think that might be something we talk about down the line in this chat. Like, same for me, basically. Like, it took me a year to find a job, and mostly because I finished university, which was a 3D course, and I wasn't ready at all, right? And then it was like a year of basically learning the skills and then eventually landing on a job that was the same scenario as both of you guys. It's like, oh, I finally applied to a job, and it happened that portfolio was okay, but they needed someone at that time that could do a specific set of elements that I could do, and then I got the job. And so like it's always a bit of this combination of hard work, obviously, but also luck and also knowledge, right? I mean, I guess for us, at least for me, it was luck because I didn't have the knowledge of what they wanted. But once you manage to get the knowledge of what they want, then you can control who you reach out to, and then you can
force luck eventually. Exactly. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when with enough volume eventually.
Yeah. So that's quite interesting, and I think that's something that you're also like kind of pushing in the Art Nest eventually.
Oh yeah, a lot.
And I kind of leads me to kind of going towards the Art Nest, because you've done all this kind of experience teaching for schools and then working for different video games, and it seems like you've done illustration, you've also done concept art, etc., etc., etc. So like, when you started the Art Nest, what was like your original intention and what was your goal with it?
Me being very angry.
You are driven by spite and anger.
Yeah,
The best
you
driver
know, it's this kind of shonen anime spirit, like Naruto. It's like everyone tells you you are a loser and you want to change things. It's a bit the same. It's like I got. I'm not shying away from saying I got a terrible experience as a student. With as I told you, with teacher trying to discourage me because they were doing it a certain way. I can respect that, and they were not accepting that someone would do it another way. Like, for example, using 3D for like environment design. Some teacher were telling, "Hey, you are cheating." It's like, I'm not stealing stuff from anyone. Look at my eyes. I don't have eye pockets while everyone else did not sleep that night. My perspective is correct. My lighting is good because I made it in 3D. What did I do wrong? And it was not a good discussion overall. And I got a bad experience as a student because of that. And even as a teacher, in certain grade schools, like teaching at New Age, it was fantastic. In other subpar schools, I will not name them, but people following me on LinkedIn know I don't like schools for most of them. It was horrible because, first of all, you have to undo a lot of bad habits on students. And sometimes it's beyond the point of non-return. Like, you deal with students, they have been taught a certain way for 4 years, you arrive for a week, like, what can you do? And more importantly, I started to see resistance from certain school direction, like, hey, you are teaching them too much. What? And it created some friction with certain schools. Like, so I remember a certain school, and we were doing some sort of initiation to 3D. And while they are practicing, you have nothing to do. You don't want to demo nonstop to distract them. So you are just talking about the industry, about them. Like how you got a job, the reality of the industry, what you are doing, what your day look like. And apparently some students were angry and went to the school board because they realized that what they were being taught was not in adequation with the industry. They were like, what have you done? And I'm like, just telling them the industry, you know.
What is sorry to interrupt you. I'm just on that note, what is the curriculum that you find that these schools are teaching that you don't think is necessarily relevant to a concept art education nowadays?
Yeah. I'm going to make a big generality, and it's not going to cover 100% of schools. Of course, there are very good ones, but the bad school, I think they barely teach you how to draw. They more or less teach you how to draw. They don't teach you how to solve problems. Like, I have never seen a school telling you, okay, you're going to design for a first-person shooter versus an RPG. The codes are totally different. Or for a movie, it's even more different, you know. That's the first thing. They are not very forward with the pipeline. Like, helping the 3D team goes beyond just making a turnaround. It's always situational depending on what you are designing. And it's also, they are not teaching you the professional part, like how to apply to studio. Heck, even how to write a CV and a letter, how to deal with interviews. They are not teaching you have to do a lot of volume. They are not teaching you how to target your portfolio for specific studios. For a lot of bad schools, at least based on what I've seen and what I consider bad schools, it's like you have a bunch of exercises slapped together that makes your portfolio, and the 30 kids that graduate, they have the same portfolio and they compete with each other. And none of their portfolio is focused enough to tell, hey, I'm a specialist about something.
Mm-hmm. A lot of the experience I've had with schools, I mean, for me, it wasn't concept art centric, but it was more trying to teach fundamental of the tools,
yes,
rather than teaching the thinking and the logic and the reason of what you should know a tool, or the reason of why you should do concept art. And it was quite frustrating for me, at least. I was learning Maya, ZBrush, all that kind of stuff, because you get to learn a tool, but a tool can be learned fairly quickly. and
Yeah.
mostly it can be learned a bit through a brute force way. Like if you really want to learn ZBrush, you go on YouTube and you spend like 2 days on it. I mean, not 2 days, maybe a month on it, but you'll be really good at ZBrush down the line, right? But the problem is that people are not going to hire you because you know how to use ZBrush or you know how to use softwares, because they want the thinking, the logic, the reflex that you need as a concept artist. And that's some stuff that personally I had to learn on the job almost, right? You get hired and then it's like you need to adjust your brain to, oh, okay, I'm not doing a personal project now. Like I need to answer to production needs. I need to answer to, I mean, for film, for example, it's completely different. Like if I do a 3D model, I need to make sure, or creature design, for example, I need to make sure I have a 3D model so I can send it to the rest of the production.
Obviously.
If I just paint a creature from scratch and we are at the VFX level type of production pipeline, they'll just be laughing at me because like they might ask for a camera change, they might ask for the 3D model for me to send it, they might ask to see a different color. So if I have to repaint it from scratch, it's not going to work. So like that is kind of stuff, almost like industry intelligence, I guess, that's at least personally took me a very long time to gain, because I just had to make mistakes inside the industry. But before you are in, it's really hard to achieve. I don't know about you, Stefan, how like you got that over the years.
I mean, I think I'm working on my third game now. So I've worked on 3 games so far. This is the third game that I'm working on now. And they all have slightly different, teams, and they all prefer to work in a bit different way. And depending on that, you might be doing tasks where someone is comfortable with you doing a paint over their scene. Someone just wants you to do a final kind of design, and they want you to just go off of that. Someone just wants you to send them references. Someone wants you to sketch over it. So it will be depending on the type of people you work with and type of whatever people are comfortable with. I think 100%. As a concept artist, you should try to know all the skills if you can. You know, just I've noticed certainly that having a big range of skills, especially 2D skills, is still extremely helpful, especially when you get closer to the end of the production, when something has to be done quickly. I can tell you for sure, like I've worked on parts of the game where you'll have a couple of weeks or even longer. It's almost like a little personal project you're working on. You have like 2 weeks or you know, and you have to finish this part of the game, you know, whatever you're doing, you have to finish this. And then, you know, that's like a little, and you have a couple finished paintings out of that. But then people start working on it in 3D, let's say, and they go, oh, how about this part? How about this? What is this? And like, we need to design all of this stuff. And then the level designer comes in accidentally and they go, by the way, this is all changing. And you have to redo it. And now you don't have the perfect kind of framework around you where like, oh, I'm going to look for my references and then I'll do this little 3D mock-up here and then I'll do a more detailed version. It's like tomorrow, or sorry, like tonight, you have 4 hours, you have to finish this like design, do it, you know? And that's where like having strong 2D and fundamental skills and just ability like to think outside of the box really comes in handy.
100%.
Yeah. And I think that's, I must have got on a tangent here, but I think it's just super useful kind of thing to know is to have wide variety of skills, including 2D skills and stuff. Is that something that you guys focus on in ArtNest? Is
it's the number one requirement. You want to join us, you need to know how to draw. Non-negotiable. Unless you are a mega monster at 3D and you can model your asset faster than you could draw, we have a few monsters like that. It's like non-negotiable. So unfortunately, we are discriminating a lot of people who skip fundamentals today, but it's non-negotiable. Otherwise, if you try to skip it, you're going to deal with the technicity of things in software, and you will not have enough mental bandwidth to deal with the ID, taste, quote unquote, and solving problems and just design overall. And it's funny what you said with having a wide variety of skills. I think you need to also be aware of all the other creative jobs as a concept artist. You're a bit at the crossroad between all the creatives, like the writers, the game designer for games, the directors for movies, the game designer, the 3D artist, VFX artist, animator. You don't have to do their job, but you need to understand their language. And your job is to make sure that one guy that is above you passes you an ID. You translate it visually, which is another medium than text, without losing anything in translation. And you have to make sure that the next person that is again going to translate it again does not lose anything either. So you need to have a lot of curiosity overall regarding the other jobs.
Yeah, it's definitely good to know like what level design or gameplay design are looking for. They're all looking for slightly different things in your concepts. Like level designer might be looking for, it depends on the type of game, but if we're talking like a lot of MMORPGs, for example, a lot of or like the type of like Dark Souls games, they might be looking for points of interest, right? A lot of the game is based around points of interest, so they might be trying to find in your concept inspiration for points of interest.
100%.
AVR, they might be looking for interesting like pathing. They might be looking for level changes, like literal level changes within the environment. They don't want to have like a flat plane because it's not interesting, so they might be asking
connecting things, etc.
Exactly. They might be asking you to create like interesting paths within your concept, for example. And when you're doing a concept, it's good to know who it is for and what they might want you to kind of explore within it.
Exactly. It's something that I was doing when I was at Ubisoft. I was so terrified about jinxing my job that I was spending a lot of my breaks near the coffee machine, and I was asking the other artists, hey, when you are dealing with concept art, what is the things that annoys you the most, that you wish was done differently, and what can help you do your job faster? And I've been doing that for my entire time at Ubisoft. I was like collecting data from everyone. It was like, I want to do my job best. I want to please those people. And it's funny, one day I was working on a small building for the Olympics DLC on Steep. It was just a simple like Japanese-inspired building. And I was like, okay, I have a 3D base. I'm going to give the 3D and I'm going to make a little turnaround of the house, And I remember the next day in the weekly huddle, when you show the work of everyone, that scene from the drill sergeant Hartman in Full Metal Jacket?
No,
he's doing the drill.
I don't think we're geeks enough.
Yes.
You know it, Jules?
Yeah.
When someone is saying, are you John Wayne? He's like, who say that? It was a bit the same. It's like, there was my picture, the turnaround of the house, and there was the other actor. It's like, who did that? Can you do more? Sure. I was terrified. I was like, okay, it's helping. That's cool. That's a good thing. And as you said, you realize that certain team, they are not used to that. They work a certain way. It works for them. And sometimes when you bring something helpful, you save them time.
Yeah, 100%.
Knowing, I mean, I guess for my industry is a bit different because it's mostly like knowing your client or like the step of the production. Compared to maybe like, I guess for you it's what you just talked about, both of you together. And so like, I guess in this part we talk about like understanding the industry, the need of the concept artist. How does the concept artist fit in within different productions? So like, what else are you awaiting for a student to maybe like start the art nest? Basically, like, do you have like a checklist of things you are looking for into someone because I know it's quite hard to get into the art nest. There's a selection process happening. So like, what's the selection process? What are the kind of each kind of list you're looking for?
Yeah. So basically the process it's in several steps. First of all, there's a video presenting our methodology and then how we work. And if you want to join, if it speaks to you, you can apply. To apply, you have to fill out a form that is basically not even to review who you are as an artist, but more to know you as a person. And some question might seem anecdotal, like what are your favorite games and why? This is one of the most important questions, spoiler alert. Because if someone says, my favorite games are insert the 3 last blockbusters of the moment, I'm like, no, not interested.
Okay, why?
I want the nerds. I want someone to talk me about that niche indie game that they played 10 years ago that marked them forever, you know?
I'm gonna be a bit challenging here. Do you feel like someone who's not a nerd cannot be a good concept artist?
It's more difficult, in my opinion, because you need that sense of curiosity. And it's the same for movies. We are mostly doing games. We are doing a few movie concept artists, but only if they are very, very good already. But we are mostly doing games, and we are like, it's like a chef that wants to make 2-star Michelin restaurant without going to the restaurant. You have to consume the media you want to create, and you have to have an appetite and taste for it. And this comes with repetition. And if only what you eat is the big blockbusters, nothing against them, some are great. But if you solely limit to that, you do not know the little gems, you know. And when someone starts to get nerdy, it's like, okay, my favorite game is Dark Messiah of Might and Magic. And do you know that with the telekinesis and the shovel spell, you can one-shot people? That's what I said at my interview for Ubisoft Annecy, by the way. I think I got hired for that. Because they worked on that game, I didn't know. And when you are nerdy about that, when you see sparkles in the eyes of people, I'm like, okay, that's a passionate person. Someone who's like, yeah, I log that big game that just got out, that got super trendy with a big art blast on ArtStation. I'm like, it's not a no, but let's challenge why you like it. Is it because you played it? Sometimes they did not even play it. And then I'm challenging like, okay, so why do you want to work there? They don't know. It's just because it's trendy and it looks cool. And I get it. But if you want to do concept art just to be trendy, you're probably missing the point, and you're probably not passionate about in my opinion, the core of the job, which is be nerdy about subject. Like you do hard surface, you want to be a nerd, watch documentaries about cars and guns and things like that. I'm a nerd about fantasy. I've watched so many stuff about the Arthurian Cycle. How do you forge an armor? I've been wearing armors. I've been looking at nerd blacks making weapons and such, coding tests, things like that. Because I vibe with it, you know.
You know, there's a show called like, is it Will It Cut or like I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, and like
yeah.
it's like a competition, like who's gonna make the best, like
Forging Fire.
Yeah. And it's like, you know, like, I mean, I guess we both speak French, so when you watch it in French, you always have like the American voice at the back, and then the French dubbing in front. I was watching this like a few years back, and it was really funny, and they always try to cut stuff at the end. It's quite epic.
Yeah.
Okay, so I follow here. I guess it's more like it's like an additional indicator of someone who maybe has got the hunger developed enough. Into taking the hours into like putting the work. Maybe.
That's it. So to get back on your initial question, what we are looking for and what we see as a bit, not a red flag, but something we are not interested in working with. What we don't want, let's start with that. People that are that just want to chase trends. We absolutely reject the trend. We have that rule. You said it also in your presentation at IAMAG in 2024. It's like, it's hard to figure out what is good, but it's very easy to figure out what not to do. And we are simple. It's like when something is trendy, it's banned. Recently, last year, we got a lot of games about Japan and samurai. Unless you bring a giga mega twist on it, it's on our ban list. You don't do samurai with us. And it's not to shadow people's dream. It's just that when you chase a trend, it's most likely too late for the industry. Making games or even making a movie takes an awful lot of time. So by the time all that trend got released, people either move to the next trend already, or else the few studios want to chase it right now, they arrive way too late and they are very likely to flop. And flop means layoff. So not the best gamble in my opinion. So chasing trend, people, I was saying it, whose gaming culture is just about the latest trendy blockbuster. Again, you need to have a culture around what you do, just like you work in movie. You're probably watching way more movies than me. You have to know what's done, to know, as you say, your client, and to understand on an intuitive level the codes of a certain genre. Let's say you work on an alien movie. You need to understand the code of alien movies. You work on a Marvel movie, you need to understand the codes of superhero movies. Not just visuals, but also the story arc, the character archetypes, the way the environment are going to be made. Like in superhero movies, there's always like a boss fight at the end with a crazy place that it feels like a boss arena, you know. you always have a certain way of displaying like the big menace appearing, etc. You need to know that instinctively. Next thing that we are not interested into is people who skip the fundamentals and think they can get away with that. And I speak about that from experience because, as I told you, I didn't have that much time to learn how to draw. I started almost directly with painting, 3D, and photos. And I managed to get a career out of that, but it fed my imposter syndrome so much because of that. And I don't want people to replicate that. So it's a bit do what I say, not what I did. But I'm doing that on the position of someone who struggled because of that.
Yes, and actually, that's quite interesting. I'm just curious. Have you throughout your, because obviously you said you've managed to get your career out of it, and you said you felt like some sort of an imposter syndrome. That must have came from maybe seeing other people who had really strong fundamentals doing maybe much better than you, or progressing in some way better, or having some sort of an easier time. I'm curious, where did that come from? Like, did you speak with some people and they told you like, hey, if you would have done back, like this is how it is now, but if you would have done more blah 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 drawing, it would have been much better for you. Like, who was this person for you, do you think would help you out figuring that out?
It's mostly me reflecting on myself and having some sort of inner dialogue. I'm big into meditation, self-consciousness, and things like that for a lot of time. So I think I'm somewhat in touch with my feelings and my inner dialogue. And I was like, it's just that you see that people are very comfortable. They can be good at everything fast when they have strong fundamentals. It's not instant, but it's easier. And it makes you very reliable. Because if at some point you solely rely on 2D, 3D, and your software breaks, say there's no license available that day at the studio, it can happen. I remember at Ubisoft one day there was no internet for whatever reason, snowstorm, no internet, and we were like, shit, nothing works. So you just have to draw on paper or use a GIMP or something like that. And we managed to make it work, but I was like, that's a risk. That's a big risk. And in school, as I told you, I didn't have the time to learn while doing the exercise of school and having good grades. So you had to pick, do you want to do the exercise, do you want to practice? And it's a difficult balancing act. And eventually I was like, okay, I'm going to not lie to myself. I cannot excel at everything. So I'm going to just be very good at one thing. And that thing was realistic environment. I was garbage at stylized. Funnily enough, in the artness, we are known mostly for stylized work now. That's funny. I was garbage at character. I was like, okay, I want to have 18 out of 20 rates in environment and 0 everywhere. I'm okay with that. And that's what I did basically, because I just knew it's like the kids, the babies, they do not learn how to walk and speak at the same time because it takes too much of their energy. It was the same for me. And I was like, okay, I like environment. That's what I really loved. And I got an entire career out of that. I'm happy about that. But deep inside, I was like, if I had started earlier to draw, I would have had that time. And it would have made that imposter syndrome not vanish, but a bit more manageable.
It's also like the step-by-step process that you mentioned that's interesting. And I think that might be also, like, again, seeing things from a film perspective where we tend to do a bit of everything.
Yeah.
I think we're a bit guilty of misrepresenting the industry, right? Because yes, in films we can do a bit of everything, but realistically as a student, you don't want to learn everything. Or if you want to learn everything, you have to do it in a very strategically way where you know that maybe you're going to do a big project with props. I mean, maybe you're going to do your keyframes with your big project, but the keyframes will be the result of hundreds of hours doing all the props, all the characters, and maybe at least you want to have a coherent art direction throughout all of it. So, like the variety comes through having to design one big project rather than just having to design everything because it's cool. And talking about like leveling up by learning different things, I feel like fundamentals, what you've been talking about, is it's like so important. Like, I mean, I think I've spent probably, like, my student years were mostly learning a bit of everything, and I guess I eventually got lucky. So okay, I did what I wasn't supposed to do, but I got lucky. But after that, since I've started to work in industry, it's like I'm just gonna work on my fundamentals more and more.
It's
and
endless.
Then all the rest gets better, right? And so, like, if you like, I mean, as you say with a baby, I guess, you know, you have to walk first, and then you can do the rest.
Mhm.
But that's really important, because then, yeah, maybe you can hold the cup and do stuff, but then if you cannot walk, you're not going to go very
Yeah,
far with your
yeah.
cup, right?
Exactly.
And the second you can walk, you can grab a cup and bring it in the kitchen, and then that's a new technique. But if you don't walk, you cannot do that at all.
Exactly.
And fundamentals really allow anyone that starts learning them truly to up their skills, no matter what they want to do in concept
Yeah.
art. Like, it doesn't matter if it's a keyframe, if it's a prop design, if it's a character design or creature design. Like, it's really gonna, like, it's that. I mean, there's no wonder it's called fundamentals, because it's like the base of the house foundation, I guess.
Yeah, and that's also one of the reasons I made the Art Nest. It's today we have seen that there's a shift in technology. 3D and photos and kit bashing and all those quote unquote shortcuts are way more accessible than 10 years ago. I remember when I did my art test for the division, I was rendering an interior in 3ds Max and Mentorship. That piece of crap of rendering software. It took me 8 hours to have a barely usable picture. In Blender, it would be instant today. And there was no kit bash. There was no asset banks beside the Google warehouse for SketchUp. The topology was horrendous. And you had to model everything. It was creating a crap ton of friction using 3D. Or even using photos, there was no photo packs. And we were all picking Shutterstock and removing the watermark and things like that. Everyone did that. And today you have photo packs, you have tons of asset banks. And it looks like the friction to create fancy picture got removed because of that. While at the time, I'm sounding like a grandpa every time I say at the time or back in old days, but we were all agreeing on the fact that you will have to learn the fundamentals and draw like crap for years before it looks great. And it kind of filtered out already a lot of people. You had to be very passionate about that. You had to like the process of creating stuff before it looks good. Well, today, a lot of people, they like the thing because it looks good fast and not that much because of the grind. And skipping those fundamentals, it's very dangerous. We have seen that with a few students at the beginning when we are not that picky. It's always the same problem. It's like a D&D character where they min-maxed one stat, which is the rendering, and the design is empty, and no amount of rendering can save an empty or generic design. While if you have a great idea and bad execution, you can already give it to the art director if you manage to convey it decently, and you can have a discussion. And then making it fancy, it's just a matter of time.
It's like the spreading of very easily accessible tools, and as you said, like photo bashing, very easy to find lots of stuff. Is basically the lack of friction reduces the need of intention in workflow, and that's something that I think we've all noticed when we work, is like the faster you can produce something, the less you have to think about how you're going to make it, the less intention you bring into your designs, right? I don't want to talk about AI in this thing, but I think that's the biggest problem with AI, right? You just lose the intention, you lose the intent, and that's something that fundamentals really bring back to you.
Yeah, it forces you to pause and think before you start drawing.
And really important. Just to bring it back a bit to the Art Nest. So I guess you mentioned like the key elements that you're looking to people. So like, how is it, like, who's it targeted for? Because here, what we mentioned is mostly, I guess, students. But I know we spoke a bit about we spoke a bit privately before, and you're also doing professionals, right? And so, like, how would professional and students differ? Is it the same skills that you're looking for, or are you looking for more towards the stuff we talked about, which is like industry knowledge or like industry understanding, or like what's the difference?
Yeah, so of course professionals, they are a bit easier to deal with because they have been in the industry and they faced maybe not all the reality of the industry, but a big chunk of it. It always depends. Let's say you work on mobile games, it's not the same as AAA games. You work in movie, you want to transition to games or vice versa. It's not exactly the same thing, but at least you have been exposed to production and to constraints and dealing with briefs. And if you got hired in the first place, especially at those times, it means you are good. So we know there's a good work ethic, that the guy or the girl or the person is smart enough to get a job. Most likely not all the portfolio have to be redone from scratch. For most of the pros that we have, we just do one project, maybe two. It's enough to sort them out and they can get back fast in the industry on a higher level. So actually, we work more and more with pros because they are easier to deal with. They are very spectacular results. And they are people with a lot of network, so they can bounce back faster. Is it forever closed for students? Not at all. It's just that we have to make sure that there is some, at the risk of sounding pedantic, some sort of potential, or at least that the person is ready at that moment. So first of all, it goes with the technique. It needs to be good enough. Understanding of the production, it's not perfect, but we need to sense in the interview and in the work that there's already, as you said, some sort of intention, and that they are trying their best to get it about what they want. If we start seeing a student with only keyframes, we're like, oh, there's going to be a lot of, let's say, keyframes for games. Keyframes for movies is different, but keyframes for games, we are like, let's say you give that set of keyframes to the game devs, the 3D artists, they have no way of turning that into 3D. So we will have a dialogue to see if they are aware about those restrictions, and if so, why they have not done that. We want to make sure that there is some sort of self-awareness about what might be missing. Of course, our video, the initial one, is meant to raise that awareness towards certain problems, but we want to see if it clicks. Because if it doesn't click, the student is going to be a bit combative and is not going to grasp what we want to teach. And it's fine, it's just not for them, and that's okay. So student, you need a good level, and we always say you need close to junior level. I know the junior is some sort of endangered species at the moment. So we are expecting a bit more of them than it was years ago. But still, I have my own definition of what a junior is now, and it's subjective. But you see the work, you already get it if there is some potential, a bit of taste, if they are nerds about things. And then it's the discussion. We're going to see, and sometimes I've been getting people in the mentorship just for a doodle in the corner sometimes. Just like some people get hired sometimes for a doodle in the corner, you know. It's like there's something valuable in that thing that is worth exploring, you know. And sometimes we have been gambling on people with low technique. They had great ideas. And it was worth it because technique is easy to solve if you know how to do it.
So, just wanted to check because I'm not just. So, how many interviews do you guys do? Do you just do one interview with the person then for the mentorship?
Yes,
just
one interview. There's the phone, there's one interview, and then there's a discussion because we are not getting them to say yes or no during the call. It's a bit aggressive.
Yeah.
We just tell them, hey, if you want to join, that's it. And if they are not ready, we're going to redirect them towards either our preparatory module or some resources, internal or external, to help them apply the feedback we give them. Because in the interview, there's also a portfolio review, and we address what needs to be changed in the portfolio. So first part is questions, second part is portfolio review, sorry. And if they are not ready, we just redirect them towards resources to learn. And they can reapply and apply the feedback. And a lot of people did that. Sometimes they've been applying the feedback for a year and they come back a year after, you know.
Nice, that's great. And so,
yeah, that's great.
I mean, that's super cool that you. So, do you have your own kind of? Because you say you direct them towards some specific courses. So, do you have your own courses that, like your own supports that they can refer back to? Then, so if it's a no, then they can refer back to something.
100%. Yeah, we have two extra things besides our mentorship. We have something we call the preparatory module, which is the chapter 0 of the mentorship. Anyone entering the mentorship, we give it to them before we start the mentorship, so they have all the knowledge regarding the industry, what is expected from them, how to understand the pipeline, where they are in the pipeline, what they are supposed to design for this type of game or this type of product. So game, movies, RPG, MMOs, online game, hero shooter, FPS, third person, etc. We want to establish all the artistic fundamentals before. And also it has some parts, case studies about the biggest issue regarding rendering and design. And this is generally enough to get them to level up and address 95% of the issues, so they can use it on their own and come back. And that's something we are redirecting to them. And because it's part of the mentorship, if they get it, we discount that from the mentorship after. and or they can just get it as a standalone if they are not interested. And now we just released a new service to bridge the gap between that product and the mentorship, which is that product plus as many feedback as they want. It's also a subscription model where they get feedback from the mentors of the mentorship. We give them a subject and they learn as they are doing that subject. And the first session, we assess their main issues that they are going to address on that project. When they are done with your project, we give them a slightly more challenging one so they can be pushed further overall.
Well, it seems like a lot of work for you to do. So what's the secret? Do you have like 50 hands, or you have a team? I assume you have a team.
A good team and a very, very big internal standard operation procedure. Like, yeah.
Sorry, I just want to say, kind of on that, because I'm just curious with the team and stuff, and but I want to wrap it up in like a question. We talked a little bit beforehand about how you feel like the knowledge of, for students, the knowledge of what to do and what is concept art is a bit lost, and I wanted to check, obviously, since I believe you're not in the industry anymore, or you're not working in the industry right now, but you obviously have a lot of people that are mentors for you that are in the industry. And I just want to just kind of like clarify that. I want to pretty much just check, like, how do you make sure that this mentorship that you provide is relevant with the industry, is relevant to all the skills that are being applied in the next generation projects?
100%. That's a very important question. So I'm not working as a concept artist anymore because the artist it's a full-time job. I'm not considering myself an artist anymore. I was a mentor. Now I'm just founder and quote unquote director, CEO, call it whatever you want, the chairman of the Art Nest. And we're going to talk about that with the lesson learned so far and such, but learning business is hard. It's a full-time job, And transitioning from being an artist to 3 years after you're running a company with people and employees and staff and stuff to deal with, it's a learning curve, But we collect data nonstop. First of all, I'm in touch with a lot of studios. And I'm constantly asking them, okay, what do you need? What do you need? What's your day look like? I want to always get informed about that. And part of the mentorship, the first homework we give to the students is to study those studios in depth. Like stalker level of analysis. Like they know everyone who worked at the studio, when they got hired, what they were doing before. They guesstimate the portfolio that got them hired, if it's still available. They retro-engineer the entire process. And after 3 years doing that, we get a pretty good database of what the studios are doing overall. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is that our staff is working in the industry. We are not requesting a tremendous amount of experience. I started to learn that seniority doesn't mean that much if you are bad at teaching. And I would 100% prefer someone who got trained by the Art Nest with the living embodiment of what we teach, that is a mentor, and they can teach people that are like 10 years worth of experience than them because they know to apply our protocol very well, than someone that is rock star level, that is a garbage human being or a bad teacher. Or sometimes you also have a lot of seniors that are so advanced or rock stars that they are kind of disconnected with the problematics of when you are starting. It's hard for them to explain. Or else it was such a long time ago, that maybe 15, 20 years ago, that the times have changed so much. It's difficult to relate to today's problematic.
Yeah. It's not easy to teach, right? It's like a full...
It's very hard.
It's a very interesting way to kind of wire your brain and be like, okay, so this thing that's pretty much muscle memory, how do you explain that to someone who doesn't have that memory? And how do you explain it in a compelling way within with a specific type of time that you have with them? It's definitely not no easy task. So like, do you have internal training then? Do you because you mentioned different level of experience. So if you have someone who has worked in industry but has a bit less experience, are you then going to train them more, or what's the...
It's the same program. Whether you're a beginner or a pro, it's the same program, because it answers the second part of your question, which is how do you keep up with the evolution of the industry? We are building it in a way that we don't have to. I'm kind of using a lot of backward thinking for everything and questioning. One thing that I hate to hear and that I love to change is when someone tells someone it has always been done like that. So I'm like, first of all, why? Second, is it the best way to do it? And three, just because everyone is doing it doesn't mean it's shielded from criticism and improvement. So that's the first thing. And I've been doing that very violently on everything. And eventually, I try to break down an idea to the first principle behind it. That is timeless. That is not about the technique. We are not teaching how to use Photoshop or 3D. I don't care. All that matters is, can you design? Can you convey your idea in a timely and efficient ways? How you do it, which software, I don't care. So we are not about technique. So we don't really have to deal with that. We are back to first principles, and you realize that the same knowledge was applying 15 years ago when Feng was doing his videos, you know. And it's funny because those principles, they are not even artistic. They are more centered around business. It's like to sell something to a business, you have to solve a problem for them. As an artist, you do the same thing. You have to identify a set of problems that studios are dealing with when doing their project and deliver a solution to that, hopefully in the most time and money efficient way possible. So we started from that. And even though we update our mentorship like once a year with all the data we collected that year, and based also on the feedback of the mentees, if we see that there is like a recurring question, we are like, okay, let's patch that. And also the data that we collect with them doing the homework and that we gather and we centralize. But overall, all the rest, it's like it's timeless. It's not the rule of art, it's the rule of quote-unquote basic business transposed and made accessible to artists in the shape of a portfolio. So that portfolio that we see, it's not exactly summarized to a mathematical equation that may be a bit too reductive, but that's the idea. It's like a certain criteria that you tick. Let's say you have done you are doing character design, you're doing a very extensive turnaround with material callouts and all of that. You probably don't need to show it again in your portfolio. They know you can do it. Then what can you move on to tick another box that you have not proven yet, up to the point that it says, okay, I get it about what you do. I'm an expert at that, and I can deliver even more. Maybe stuff that you can monetize, stuff that is going to save you even more money, etc. That's the way we build it overall. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. So like when you say like things that you can monetize, just to kind of translate that to what there would be in a portfolio, that's going to be like, oh, okay, so you can paint amazing textures, but you can also model, right? And so then that means that you would be a great 3D modeler. That's the kind of stuff that you say by monetizing. It's like you're thinking how a studio will use you. Will use your skill, I guess that's a better way to phrase it, to then get to their end product.
There's a bit of that, like recycling what you have been doing for concept art for other artists. Like, for example, let's say you are doing environment, maybe doing some trim sheets would be very good, you know. And if you are a bit smart about how you build your scene, you make your texture, you photo model out of that. Why not giving the initial material, you know? That's one way to monetize that, but it's more like, especially for games, it's like, what do they make money with? You look at a solo game, let's say we pick Elden Ring. They make money because, first of all, it's from software, but putting that aside, just an RPG, it's like, you know, you're going to invest a lot of time to pursue a lot of collectibles, a lot of weapons, secret bosses, crazy armor, and things like that. So maybe you can design things like this. On the other hand, let's say you want to aim at hero shooters like Overwatch, Marvel Rivals, even leagues, things like that, League of Legends. How do they make money? It's with cosmetics. So maybe if you want to work with them, you should do cosmetics, because not only nobody does that, I don't see that many junior portfolios doing that, but more importantly, you are telling them, hey, I understand what I'm going to do in your work. I know how to make money, and I'm very good at that. Yeah, that's the way I see it.
So
overall.
yeah. So I didn't understand it like that at the start. So it's basically making sure that you understand the kind of artist they need for, And
Yeah.
because they have a lot of skins, or they
Yeah.
have a lot of cosmetics, or I guess, you know, for shooting game, they need a lot of weapon design or
Yeah.
weapon skins. Then you need to do a lot of that rather than doing physical keyframes for a shooting game. That you
Exactly.
need a few artists only. Okay.
And that's why to do that, you need a good culture about games. Because you need to understand what are the codes.
Nice. And so, like, when you do all these studies, like, do you study that yourself, or do you work with companies directly, or do you ask them? Like, do you have partnership with companies?
So I have a few partnerships with a few companies, and they are a bit more open about it. But you know, outsourcing studios, they shift project a lot. So it's more about their technique that is documented. The product, they cannot talk about that for NDA reason. But the students, we are teaching them, okay, you will not be able to break NDAs, obviously, but you can ask yourself enough questions to have a good enough answer. And the good is that you pick several studios that are doing similar stuff, like you pick several outsourcing studios doing realistic stuff. They are all doing the same stuff because they are working for the same client. So if you study one studio and you realize that other studio is doing exactly the same thing, you can make an average of what they do. So it's about finding bits of process here and there, asking yourself the right question. Okay, let's say the color palette. Okay, for every realistic game, it's muted, earthy colors with one splash of action that is saturated everywhere. Let's say for hero shooter games, it's always face, hands and weapons, something on the chest or on the waist. The rest is less detailed. Once you start noticing those patterns, that's where you are onto something, and you can make your own art direction Bible for those type of studios that are part of what you are aiming at. So we are basically teaching students in the first 2 weeks to make those research. It's not the funniest part because you are not drawing and everyone wants to draw, but it's there to build their own art Bible so they know what to do. And it's funny because we could give it to them now that we have studied the same studios over and over again, but it would not permeate as deeply as if they were doing it themselves.
And so and you said you said you work with outsourced studios to mostly make sure that the technique of the students is correct and making sure that they...
It's more what they can communicate to us. Client stuff, it's difficult because of NDAs.
Of course. And then just wanted to, since I'm not really particularly familiar with some of the mentors that work with you, is there any particular mentors you would want to like shout out here, maybe that people can like look up and just like get excited about their work? And you know, because I often find like when I go to, like, if you go to the what's the school that Darek and Michael Kuss run?
Focal Point.
Focal Point, yeah. If you go, I should know.
Yeah,
Darek,
you should know that
they've been at your event last time.
Yeah,
and they were
sure,
Stefan.
Hey man, Darek knows I love him. Darek knows I love him. Okay, he knows it. All right, he doesn't need more confirmations. Anyway, so these guys, like, so they run Focal Point, and this is the main reason you would go to Focal Point is because I love Darek's and Michael's work. And so yeah, any people you would want to shout out here, their the artists and stuff like that?
Axel Pommier, the lead mentor.
Axel Pommier.
He's running the mentorship instead of me now because he's doing it better. And he's 25 years old. Started his career like 2 years ago. He's one of the best teachers I have ever seen because he's a mega nerd about gameplay and he's able to challenge anyone. And that's all that matters to me. I don't care about having rock stars. I think rock stars, some of them, they are very good teachers, but some of them, it sells because of the big name, not because of the teaching abilities. And I always privilege the teaching abilities. And I trust our protocol. And what I want to shout out more than the mentors, it's the mentees work.
100%.
And we have produced people that are becoming like mini rock stars now. I'm thinking about Unli, for example. This guy is swimming in jobs. I've been documenting that in an interview with him recently. And it's like he had already some experience. Now he's set. He got offers from all the big studios like Larian. We know what Larian is working on right now. Plarium on Red Shadow Legend, working at Mood repeatedly. Netflix devoted a lot of other studios. NCSoft, his work went very viral. He got to teach at New Edge. He got to make some tutorials. That's the kind of stuff we got, and we have plenty of mentees like that. That either if they were pros before, now they skyrocketed, or if they were beginners, they got jobs sometimes defying odds, like visa restrictions, for example, or seniority restrictions, time zones, things like that, just because they are able to slightly over-deliver. So awesome. I prefer to showcase the work of mentees more than the mentor themselves. It's just that, in my opinion, it's not that the mentors are irrelevant. On the contrary, I'm extremely protective of my team, and I'm so careful about who to select now. But I'm selecting them because I know they are good mentors, not because they are rock stars. I don't care.
100%. Yeah. I mean, I know some. I've worked with some really big names, and I know some people that have like some of the people that I know that might be some of the best people in the industry. They might not necessarily be as good at teaching, for sure.
It's fine. You can only excel in one thing. Pick your battle.
I can tell you 100%. I've shout out Tom Chamberlain-Keen a few times before, but this guy is one of the best teachers. Gosh, he helped me out a lot at some point when I was at Shark Mob. I asked him for some help with getting better at, and he was really good. He really knows how to teach things super well and super correctly.
TCK in the best, because he did 2 lectures for us at Concept 101 over the years, and I mean, I guess we all love his arts. And when you talked about earlier having people needing to be geeks, and I think TCK in the best complimentary way possible. I don't know if you've seen the talks he did for us at Concept 101. They're on YouTube, by the way, guys, if you want to check them out.
I'm gonna check it out for sure.
They're the most geeky, it's like someone who geeked art to its final level, in a way, where he just goes into like weird mathematics theories about how to make an image read in certain ways. So it's less geeky about the industry, but more about like the thinking behind art. It's really cool. So TCK, amazing artist. I'd recommend you guys checking out his work. And by the way, you should definitely send me some links of your of the artists you'd like to shout out. You mentioned Alex Pommier, so if I'll put those in the description for you guys who want to check out the work of
Axel Pommier. I will share some of the mentees, no problem. Like Un, Evan, other people like that, Alex.
Amazing. I think
that'll be in the description.
Yeah, I think like for people seeing those, it will just get them really hyped. I remember, like we mentioned Feng Zhu here, and FZD School of Design always had this like giant page of like the work of the mentees, and I would always go there and be like, this is so cool. I'm like so shit compared to this, but this is the standard that I want to get. And I was like, this school is producing those people. That's kind of the place where I should go. So
we are reworking our website. I know, like it looked like a scam page from 2008 at the moment. I know. It's on the way, and we want to share the work of the mentees. We would love to make an art book, actually, eventually.
Oh, art book are really cool. You should do one, man.
We will want to do one and send it for free to a lot of studios.
Yeah, that's the idea. A lot of studios do their own art book, and I think it's hard to beat on the coffee table. It's like you have a client, you just bring in an art book. It
does something.
It's the easiest way.
So we are planning on doing that for sure. And nice. The before and after are very impressive. It's mostly the before and after that convince people, and the way we document the work overall. Like it's very exhaustive. And you were talking about Fang, for example. That's something we notice even with the ArtStation algorithm and how to get seen. You make a call-out sheet, just some sort of isometric view of an environment. You stand out so much on the wall of keyframe on ArtStation that you get crazy visibility.
Good to know. I'll do more
Mm-hmm.
call sheets.
It's a bit of rule in the hardness. Again, it's me being a little punk at heart. I'm like, I don't like being told what to do. And when everyone does one thing, I just want to do the opposite just to piss people off, you know? And it's from that book called The Purple Cow by Seth Godin. I don't know if you heard about that book.
Not by name, no.
It's a
I don't think
marketing
so.
book about the purple cow from the Milka chocolate. It's about
Mm-hmm.
being remarkable in a sea of clones and clones and clones.
Mm-hmm.
So similar to what you were saying, like it's easy to avoid what has been done too much. Just saying that at your IAMAG conference, it's like, look at ArtStation, do not do that. Do the opposite.
The one rule that I do with my personal work, I mean, so now I'm doing a lot of world building, so it's a bit different, but still, if I choose to spend my time on a project, I look online. If I see anything similar to what I'm planning to do, I don't do it.
Yeah,
Because
same.
I don't want to, like, you know, like, I think everyone's time is worth, I guess, I mean,
Yeah.
time is important. And so it's like, okay, is my time worth to develop this brief? And if it's already out there, nah, I don't want to do it. And I think that's something I've trying to keep repeating myself, and
Yeah.
and it's an advice I'd give to people.
Even on
For
a
sure.
job standpoint, how can you stand out if everyone is doing the same stuff as you?
Yeah.
Every time there was a big release on certain projects, you pick like God of War, you pick The Last of Us. Suddenly God of War gets released, everyone does Viking. Last of Us gets released, everyone does post-apocalyptic. Ghost of Tsushima gets released, everyone does samurai. It's like, how do you want to get hired if you do the same thing? And they can always find someone cheaper than you doing the same stuff. And strangely enough, there has not been a slew of Clair Obscur clone on ArtStation or a Baldur's Gate clone on ArtStation. That's again because of friction. It's not Googleable. You cannot find a samurai photo on Google and call it your project. You have to put a lot of thoughts in it. That's probably what makes it remarkable.
I wanted to talk a bit about companies again. I know we already talked about companies a bit, but I went on your website earlier, and I saw that you mentioned working with companies in a new way.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if you could. It's called basically talent acquisition. So what's that? What's that for?
It's not fully out there yet. It's there's the soon on my horrible website that is about to be remade soon. But yeah, basically, we have been training a lot of people that got hired or that are on the level of getting hired. This is a shout out to studios. You need people. Send us a message. Before you make a LinkedIn post and you get 600 applications and you get lost in it, send us a DM, tell us what you need. I can probably recommend you 3 to 5 people that will be qualified for the job. It's up to you to pick them, but we are there to save time to studios. So the offer to studio is very simple. We are not a talent acquisition firm like asking for a fee to studio. It's free for studio. It's like, tell us what you need. If we need to sign an NDA, I will happily sign it to discuss that with you more in depth. Tell us what you need. I'm going to put you in touch directly with the mentees. Most of them that we work with are already professionals that we would recommend at least. The other ones, they are on their learning way, so they are not ready yet to be recommended. And if it saves you time, more power to you because we just place someone.
That's awesome.
That's it. All I'm asking from studios is a bit of transparency regarding their budget and allowing me to negotiate on behalf of the person. Because we all know that artists, they are terrible at negotiating, and I want them to be paid not an arrogantly ludicrous price, but what they are worth. That's all I'm asking. So
that's awesome.
Shout out to studios. Reach out to me.
No, that
I'm
makes
starting
a
to
lot of
happen
sense.
a lot of people on LinkedIn about that already.
Yeah, well, that's good. No, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, first of all, I think it's something that we had seen. I mean, you know, for example, some schools they have a end of year kind of day where they invite companies.
People, yeah.
So, but it's more of an end of year thing. For mine, it was COVID, so I missed it when I graduated. But I guess so. It's a bit something similar, but I guess that goes throughout the year, right?
Yeah.
Because it's true that it's a bit confusing. At least I think it's a bit hard to understand what company. If you look at the job opening and a job description, it's a bit hard for students to understand what exactly the company is looking for. If that makes sense. So I was
100%.
wondering, like, what's your approach to that, and if there's something that you've thought of like bridging that gap, basically.
That's how we build the mentorship, and that's why we are spending those 2 weeks. As I told you, we could give them the recipe, like, okay, you aim at, let's say, mood, visuals, character, all the realistic outsourcing. So here is the formula. It will not work because they will just follow it blindly, and they are not getting in the learning curve of learning, or to ask yourself the right question to find the answer by yourself. And it's a skill you can keep your entire career. But besides that, it's like you want to present yourself as an expert, knowing what they are doing, how they work. And without having a crystal ball, you want to kind of guesstimate the trajectory on which that studio is going. You pick a studio, let's say you pick Larian Studio, they have always been doing CRPGs in medieval fantasy. It's safe to assume that their next project, they revealed it with Divinity, is going to be a CRPG in fantasy. You pick id Software, they are good nuts, first-person shooters with crazy mechanical, almost diesel-punk design. It's safe to assume they're going to continue this way. So you are not going to apply to machine games or to id Software with Doom with a fantasy third-person game. You know, it makes no sense. So it's about picking your battle, and again, knowing your client, knowing what they want, and presenting yourself as an expert in that way. And to get back on the talent acquisition thing, I'm just there to track, like a recruiter or like an agent, the name of the person, their availability, link to their portfolio, including some stuff that they might be able to show only to clients, their calendar, if they are working on something, when they will be available, and their current rate. This way I have all the info. I can give that immediately to the recruiter, and we can start to figure out if it matches their budget, and if there is a bit of a wiggle room. It's like, guys, I'm potentially saving you weeks, if not months of hiring. You won't have to make a LinkedIn post and get 600 applications that you will drown under. It's saving you thousands, if not dozens of thousands of euros. Maybe you can just slightly be a tad more generous, and you will still save a bit more money, you know. That's all we are asking.
And this is something that you provide to the people who take your mentorship?
Yeah, I don't want to make it a promise because it's not guaranteed, but those who are the best of the West, who make their portfolio and kind of get result already, we are proposing that to them.
Yes, that's so it's almost like very thing you just do to be like just helpful for the sake of being helpful.
Even if we potentially take a little fee, it's nothing, and we ensure that they make more than on their own, because we have to cover operation and things like that. So we are still a business. We can help people, but at some point we have some staff and some infrastructure to pay eventually, and we have to keep fingers afloat. So we have to make it work. But yeah, that getting people's and studio job, it's a win-win-win situation. The students 100%. Are happy, obviously. The studios are happy because they are saving a crap ton of money and time. We are happy because we can announce we are partnering with a studio that trusts us, and we can establish deeper relationship with them. Maybe getting studio representative to make presentation with us, to review the work regularly, to maybe give feedback, etc. So it's a win-win. It establishes credibility. It also attracts more people who want to benefit from that. So it feeds the machine for everyone. And because we grow bigger and we have more studios trusting us, it's a better social proof. So when we reach to a studio, it's easier also. So it's just the gift that keeps on giving eventually, and everyone wins, basically.
Yeah, so it's good for business. Good for marketing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And since we talked a little bit about business, what do and we can kind of like, we're slowly coming to maybe wrapping up this podcast. Let's we can move on to the final section here, which is about some more of a retrospection. Now that you've been running ArtNest for a little while, what do you think is your like biggest learnings from when you started it to now?
Three of them. The first one is that, as I was saying, I do not care at all about seniority when it comes to teaching. That's been a big lesson. I kind of reflected upon my journey when I was a student. I was also looking at the business. I was also chasing trends and things like that. My portfolio was mimicked after Ubisoft and The Division, and Assassin's Creed was trendy. The Division was trendy. I've been part of that, and the only difference is that making flashy pictures, 3D and such, was rare at the time. Law of supply and demand, it was in demand. It was not a commodity yet. So I managed to make that portfolio this way, and it filled the supply and demand. But as soon as I started my career, I was like, I don't really want to become a rock star in the industry. I don't like exposure. I know it's paradoxical because with the honest, I'm being very shouty and very spicy on social media, and it attracts a lot of eyes. But I'm like, I don't want to be seen as a rock star, you know.
You have chosen the LinkedIn rockstar path.
Which is weird. And you know what? I'm good at LinkedIn because I hate the platform so much.
Yeah.
Again, I'm like, how can I be a little punk on LinkedIn, you know? And it seems that it works, you know. But anyways, I've been approached by a lot of people who were potentially interested in teaching at the Artnest, collaborating, and I'm like, maybe, but I don't care about your CV. I don't give a shit. I want the person to be, first of all, a good human being, someone that cares, and someone that is aligned with our values, which is to be close to the student, to fit or what became our process eventually. It was not even there last year, but what became our process and signature, which is we prioritize entertainment. So we want portfolios, okay, they are impressive technically, they fit in production and such. It's the three criteria. It's like you have to help the 3D team. You reject trends and you have to show you are a good designer. But I want the people need to have fun. It's both you, the artist, making it. You need to sense that you are a nerd and that you are smiling. And I want the silly doodle in the corner. I don't mind. I want it in the portfolio because it shows you are happy doing that. And I think that whatever emotion you put in your work, it's contagious. And you can sense, I'm pretty sure you can do the same, guys, when reviewing portfolios. You can sense when someone is having genuine fun doing that and is enjoying deeply the thing, and where it feels like a struggle and like a chore almost. And it's very difficult to deal with. And I think someone whose work looks like a chore, there's little to no chance they get hired because it's more prone to burnout or to eroding the morale of the team. And I think it's very important. We are sensitive creatures as artists, you know. So
100%.
That's the first lesson. The second one is about challenging conventional wisdom. I was telling that, like, when someone tells me it has always been done like that, I'm like, why? Why can't we do it differently?
What do you like? Do you have an example for when someone told you? Yeah.
Sure. I find it funny that as concept artists, our job is literally pattern recognition nonstop. You see a color, you associate it with a meaning. You see a shape, you associate it with something. And eventually, when you make a picture, it's all about being like a chef with ingredients, and you make that cooking recipe of symbols and patterns to express something. I find it very fascinating that most artists, they are not really able to do that outside of art. You just look at ArtStation. Everyone is doing one thing. The latest trend, the latest whatever, post-apocalyptic Viking, samurai, you name it. Everyone is doing that. Is anyone doing that getting the desired result? aka jobs? Probably not. So why doing that? And a lot of people, they get so trapped in this kind of ArtStation trend chase. They think that what they see on the front page of ArtStation is how can I say, it's what the industry needs. And it's not, it's just what us, the artists, we like to consume, you know? So that's the kind of conventional stuff I like to challenge. Like when everyone does one thing, I'm like, this is probably not what we should do. The third thing, it's learning business is tough, you know? That's the biggest lesson I got. I mean, you're running Concept 101 and you have to deal with finances, and it's, you know, it's tough.
And we're running a free event, imagine.
Yeah, when you run a business where you have to pay people, you dive into a whole other galaxy. you have to deal with that you would have never imagined in your wildest dream you will deal with. Like a few years ago, I was just drawing stuff, and now you have staff to manage, people to hire, to lay off, depending on what's happening. When someone in the staff messes up, you have to repair stuff. You have a lot of fixed expense, and you have to make sure that the money keeps going so you can pay your staff because people rely on you.
Mm-hmm.
You have to do a lot of math with crazy weird terms like EBITDA, CAC to LTV ratio and shit like that. And it's like, come on. and also, that's something I was not expecting, is that you attract a lot of people with weird intentions. Like people who want to take advantage of you, people who hate your guts for whatever reason and smear you everywhere. You need to have a legal team to collect and you collect stuff and eventually protect yourself. People are trying to steal your stuff, so you have to make patents and things like that. And I came to it being a kid in a pajama launching a random mentorship, and it kind of blew up, And I was not expecting to meet that early. And you just have to. I think a lot of people, I'm not saying that in a pedantic way, but I think a lot of people not really fully understand how a business runs until you run one. Not as a solo person, but when you have a team and expenses and people are relying on you, you have to solve things in a certain way. And people are not realizing it. It's like between what you sell and what you make in your pocket, it's very different. There's so many expenses in the way. It's very expensive to run the Art Nest. And there's a lot of misconceptions. It creates a lot of weird behavior of people who I think just do not understand. But it's okay because on the other side, the impact is so cool. The impact you get is amazing. It's like you get people who know who you are, and especially who knows the student, studios, and people, they start to recognize our little owl logo. And that's such a massive joy to me when it's like, oh, you're from the Art Nest, that's amazing. How is it? We get tons of photos. That's a bit of a meme at the moment on our Discord channel. We got people in our community who are students who are sending us sneak peeks when they are in class of the teachers showing our mentees work as an example of what you do, and we're like, that's amazing.
Nice.
And even studios, they start to know who we are now. Some studios, they reach out to us spontaneously. Recently, like a studio was like, hey, we need 2 fantasy armor designer for microtransaction team. Do you have that? I'm like,
yes.
Come back in 2 months. Come back in 2 months. I'm going to give that to you. So
nice.
it's cool, and it's also, impacting positively people. Like we got some people that were in third world country who got lifted off of poverty just because they got a junior job from Europe or something like that, and it pays them a lot compared to their country. People who were like not at peace with their art career, that get the flame kind of kindled again, and they are back and they get jobs. People who got better results, who work on dream projects and such. It has a lot of value,
Yeah, it does. It does.
It's very good.
And it seems to be helping a lot of people as well, which is really nice.
Yeah.
And so, like, do you have? That's already a lot, of course. And you talked about the stuff that you want to add up, which is the talent acquisition part that we mentioned.
Yeah.
Is there like a way you'd like to push it further in any other direction? Like what about you've been going to some events as well. You were at last year's Concept 101. You were the main sponsor of last year's Concept 101, which we appreciate.
Maybe that year too. Who knows?
Maybe this year too. Who knows? No one knows anything about this year's event, and we'll keep it that way. It's secret.
Yes.
But yeah, so like, what are the plans that you'd like to talk about about the future?
So there's the talent acquisition thing and another service that we launched before the mentorship. So the talent acquisition, I'm just relying on network now. So this is a public shout out. And I know you guys also have a network, so we might talk about that. It's like you're a studio, you're struggling to hire, or you want to make it easier and save time and money. Send me a DM on Discord, LinkedIn, whatever you want. I'm terrible at emails. So LinkedIn is fine, or Discord is even better, but LinkedIn is fine. Tell us what you need. We sign an NDA if you want us to talk more in depth. Cost nothing to you. We are happy to place someone. I'm just asking you to be transparent about your budget and give me a shot at negotiating for them. properly. I'm not going to rob you. I just want them to be paid fairly. And I want to establish as many positive relationships as possible with studios. That's the first thing. Second, wishful thinking regarding studios. I would like some sort of transparency act among studios. It's like, guys, maybe you cannot talk about your clients, but we have been studying your work for 3 years now. All the realistic studios, you're working the same way. Show your process. Stop showing just the keyframes for investor. Have a section where you document what a day in the life of a concept artist looks like at your studio. What is the kind of deliverables that are expected for which kind of time, depending on the seniority. I know it's hard to quantify, but at least do something. And that will help a lot of people. And eventually you will not get 600 applicants on LinkedIn with 2 people that are just worthy of an interview. That would be the main thing. I would love to contribute to centralizing that info. That's what we have been doing privately. I would like to have the blessing and the contribution of studios to centralize that and make it public. I think it's important. Maybe we can talk about that together with you guys also. I think that would be a great initiative. That's for the talent acquisition part. In the future, duplicating what we have been doing for concept art to other jobs, provided we find the right mentors to do it. And also the talent acquisition. I think that would be great. My vision for the artist in the next 3 to 5 years is that when anyone in the industry thinks about job, they think about us. So that you're an applicant or a studio. And the last thing is that recently we just released a new service to close the gap between the mentorship and nothing before. It's accessible to anyone. You get the mentors from the mentorship. You get the same amount of care as the mentor of the mentorship. And we give you a project. We diagnose what are the most important things you can level up in a set amount of time. And we kick your butt into doing that while doing that project. And I'm going to document that on YouTube pretty soon. It's probably going to be out when that podcast is out. We've been doing a contest. We got 100 participants, 55 people who made it to the end in 5 weeks, which is a lot given how hard the contest was. And at the last minute, we decided to give group feedback to everyone. We are not expecting to have 100 people to give feedback to, so it ended up being very repetitive feedback, like 5 minutes per people. We got dozens of testimonials of people telling us we learned more with 5 minutes of feedback for 5 weeks than in years in art schools.
That's awesome.
So seems that it works. So it's basically the same, but more exhaustive with less people and more tailored.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's a pretty ambitious future ahead.
Yeah. I mean,
it's pretty nice, man.
We want to take no prisoners, you know.
Please keep coming to Concept 101.
Of course.
Don't forget about us.
Of course.
You're a multinational company.
Oh, that's fine.
But yeah, dude, that's amazing. And obviously, thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys.
And
thanks so much, dude.
I'll put a link to your website
Sure.
if people want to.
It's gonna look better
out.
pretty soon, I promise.
Sounds good. Well, we'll see when this podcast comes out, but you'll have a tight deadline then to make it better.
Oh my god. No.
Yeah, thanks a lot. If you have any last words you'd like to say, it's your time. If not, don't worry, we'll just
Thank you so much. And if we may or may not be at Concept 101, you may or may not expect the craziest booth than last year. Even more candles.
Wow, okay.
Hell yeah.
Nice. Even more candles. Fake candles.
Oh my God.
So we don't burn the building.
No,
guys-
fake one.
For the listeners, like the booth that the Darkness had last year at Concept 101 was really pretty, and they had tons of these like tiny fake candles. It was just super cool. And they put a lot of effort into their booth, and I think it's worth it. I think it makes everyone want to come and talk and just be like, what is this super cool thing around here?
Challenging conventional things. And it's so funny because when we made that booth, at some point you guys lowered the light and it went silent. We were like, everyone is watching us. It was very funny that morning when we were making the booths.
Yeah. It's always like very hectic, right? In the morning before people before people show up to the event, it's like, okay, we have 2 hours. Let's make booths. And we hadn't chat too much. I mean, because we were also busy doing our things, we hadn't chat too much about what the booth would look like exactly. And it was so nice to see it come to life at the event. And I think it was like big success. A lot of people have told me about this booth, and it was like one of the nicest booths we had, I think, if not the nicest booth we ever had. So let's see. Maybe this year it gets topped off. That's a nice challenge to have. Yeah.
Awesome.
Nice.
Well, thank
Alright.
you so much again. We appreciate you for being on the podcast, and thank you so much for everyone who tuned in to listen to this podcast. And yeah, hope to see you soon.